What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ Buck back with you. Buck, what is the word, man?
Not too much, DJ. Just getting ready for, man, another weekend. It's crazy. Like, we spent so much of the off season, like, looking forward to the regular season popping off. And, I mean, once you get to training camp and once you get to that first week of the preseason, I mean, it's like the hamster being on the wheel. Like, it is already crazy that we're in the middle of the week and we're looking ahead to the weekend's games and getting into preseason too. And then we know, like, this is kind of it. This is the big one for the starters. If they don't play in joint practices this week, I mean, like, this is it, because they're not going to play the final week of the season, preseason.
Yeah.
And so it is crazy how fast it goes once we get started and how close we are to the regular season kicking off in the beginning of September.
Yeah, we're right there. College football really right around the corner, and we won't forget about college football. Once that gets cranked up, we'll sprinkle some of that stuff into the pod. But one of the things I want to do today is just really focus on these rookies. We talked about the quarterbacks and their performance in Monday's episode. Had a chance to dig into some of these other guys. I want to focus on the defensive first rounders, Buck, as well as the offensive lineman first rounders. I thought that'd be a good place to dig in, and we can kind of evaluate. Look, it's brief. It's a brief snapshot, but I do think you can tell if guys belong on an NFL field if they look at a place in that first exposure, and then also maybe what some expectations are for them going forward. So let's jump into it. Let's start first of all here. Let's go with Laiatu Latu. I think one of your favorite players in the entire draft. We got a chance to see him for the Colts. Had a tackle, had a pressure. I was impressed. The same stuff again. You want to see him look like they did in college. His hands are really good. He's got kind of that little Euro step jump move, and he's, polished with his hands. I thought he got held one time. I think it was Bowles out there at left tackle. I thought kind of hooked him. But I just thought he looked the same. Technician, he's gonna beat you with that. And I thought, he had one nice long arm too, where he flashed a little bit of power. But I came away from that thinking that was very similar to the look that we saw of him at UCLA the last couple of years.
Yeah, he's a very talented and skilled pass rusher. And the other skill that he possesses outside of the full array of moves is just how hard he plays. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about effort being a skill, and you can just see where in Gus Bradley's defense, which I think is like the perfect fit for him, you can see where he's going to be a problem, because it's very simple. He's going to allow Laiatu to just kind of go and do his thing, and he's going to wear people out. I just think his relentlessness is going to lead to double-digit sacks right away as a rookie. And this defense is going to benefit from having two, I would say, similar athletes on the edges, and Kwity on one side and Laiatu Latu on the other side.
Yeah, one of the things he does really well is if you kind of give him a hand. So we don't see really two-hand punching much anymore. So just kind of you get that one hand out there. He's really good at knocking that hand out real quick. I'll be curious to see if the more people play against him, if they're going to challenge his, hey, we're going to challenge him with power a little bit more. So we'll be patient with our hands, and we're going to let him try and get to us first, which is usually a no-no for tackles. But he's so adept and so good knocking hands down. I'm almost curious to see if people are going to be a little more patient when they're setting against him. But I thought overall impressive first debut performance there by Laiatu Latu with the Colts. All right, to me, the best in show of the rookie defensive players is the next one I'm going to get to, and that was Byron Murphy. I saw him live. It was impressive when you're watching it live. It was more impressive when I watched the tape. But this is someone who, when you watched him at Texas, all the same words that showed up over and over again: quickness, leverage, power, that ability to anchor versus those angle blocks for somebody who's not a huge guy. He's got just incredible balance and core strength. And then also showed in this game, Buck, as a nose or somebody that's going to play inside. You've got somebody that can win right now early with quickness, but he's not afraid to put his hand in your chest and walk you right back to the quarterback too. It was impressive there. They got a stud.
No, they did get a stud. And you just talk about, DJ, like the run on offensive players in the draft was surprising. Because in normal instances, you talk about the two guys that we just mentioned, Latu 1 and then Byron Murphy 2. They would have been top 10 picks. When you watch them play, they earn top 10 grades based on their potential disruption that they could create at the line of scrimmage. And Murphy is as advertised. You see an explosive athlete. You see a strong, dominant athlete at the point of attack. And like, given what Mike McDonald has done, it's easy to envision him playing that role that Justin Madubuike played and dominated in. I just think he's set up for success in a defense that really is built to showcase his talents.
Yeah, I was going back through my notes on him, just pulled him up. I had Ed Oliver on there. He can roll his hips. He's twitchy. He can jump gaps. He can change directions. Incredible balance to go to a knee and hold the point of attack. He plays with leverage. I mean, all that stuff just, look, it's one exposure, but it showed up. It showed up early. It was impressive. Let's go to the Vikings. They got Dallas Turner, who I thought was a stud coming out of college, and he played really well. He had a sack, 2 quarterback hits. Burst and bend. That's what he showed. I mean, he can get to the top of the rush. He can corner. He looked fast and explosive. He was getting off the ball. There may be 1 or 2 plays where I thought, okay, plays away. I see a little bit more tenacious effort on that stuff. But overall, man, I thought, again, he's long, he's loose, he's fast. All that stuff showed up.
I mean, so I just feel like with the guys that we talk about, like, their superpowers stand out. And in the preseason, they should stand out because it's, you're playing against like athletes. Like, it's not quite where you're playing the number one. So you're basically playing against college all-stars and those guys. And so you should be able to flash and dominate and do those things. And so when somebody brings all of those individual traits to the table, you expect them to shine. And so for me as an evaluator, I look, it's a check in the right, you check off the box. You're like, hey, that's good going into the preseason. Now let's see if we can give him more and see if he continue to add to it and add more disruption, more playmaking.
Let's get to another defensive lineman here. Let's go to Darius Robinson against the Saints. Had a tackle, can move around a little bit. Buck, he looks lean and long. I mean, he looks, because I thought he was one of those guys who could have gone up or down in weight. I'd be curious to see what he weighs, but, he looked lean and quick. And someone he's just got some real snap to him. So I thought he was an intriguing player coming into the draft. And I thought watching that game, he's got some knockback to him. He's just got some explosiveness to him. But really more than anything else, I just thought, man, he looked good. He looked lean. And I like the way that he kind of went with that. We always have these guys, like every year, there's one of these guys like, okay, is he going to show up? Is he going to bulk up and go in? And is he going to lean out and stay outside? He looked good on the outside, man.
I mean, like these guys, man, I just think you talk about the guys that we've all mentioned, DJ, were the ones when you looked at the tape, they all had great motors. They all played hard. And we've talked about it. It's underrated in the evaluation process in terms of just finding guys who play hard, because effort and energy can really overcome a lot of like shortcomings when it comes to like being in the wrong spot, not knowing, not having everything. But if you play hard, man, you can kind of fall into plays and those things. And so when you talk about whether he leaned out or whether he bulked up or whatever, I think that didn't matter. I think it's just retaining that hunger and that desire to, hey, I'm gonna be the hardest worker. I'm gonna be a worker, be on the edge. I'm gonna make things happen just because I outwork the person in front of me.
Yeah, no question. Let's get to the secondary here. Quinyon Mitchell almost had a pick. He looked comfortable. He looked, he didn't play a ton, but he looked comfortable. He looked fast. He's going to be a really, really good player. I've heard he's had a phenomenal camp. And to me, I was impressed by what I saw there. Again, wasn't there for a long time, but just he looked the part 100%. And I also saw, by the way, side note, that it looks like Cooper DeJean is getting kind of mixed into practice now, getting him back for the Eagles. So I'm excited to see that young secondary, but he's a stud. He's going to be really, really good.
So it's a couple of things that I'm excited about when it comes to the Eagles. It's not only the personnel, the young personnel, because we were excited about Quinyon Mitchell, super excited about Cooper DeJean and what they can add. But I am really excited to see how Vic Fangio changes the way they do business in Philadelphia. You've already heard the reports about more conditioning, more plays. There's a different atmosphere in terms of like how they're preparing and getting ready for the season, and how they're going to get ready in the regular season. To me, this is what this team needed, because it's funny because we spend so much time talking about the epic collapse that we forget that this team went out to a 10-1 start. I mean, they were a dominant team that was rolling, and then it fell apart. The talent is there. To me, it's about the toughness, and then it's about just making sure that the coaches get this team to bring the necessary tenacity each and every week to the table. If they do that, man, they're gonna run through their thing because they're talented. They're more talented than most teams in the league. Then the upper echelon talent on their roster. If they can get the team to play the right way, look, man, you talk about double digits, high double digits, always in the conversation for the number one seed.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to be a really, really good team. And, Vic Fangio, curious to see how it all comes together once we get to week one there. Next corner here, Terrion Arnold. just didn't get any action, Buck. Watch the tape. He looked comfortable, carrying verticals, man, underneath his own. His eyes were where they needed to be. Just didn't get tested, didn't get challenged. So not much else to take from that. But I always come back to, do you look the part? Do you move around well? Do you look confident, comfortable? He passed all those tests. He just didn't get any work. So hopefully we get a chance to see him get challenged a little bit as we go forward. Let's get to the last one here on the defensive side of the ball, and that's Nate Wiggins. The most action, man. He got challenged. Some reason they decided they wanted to go at him, and he was up for it. 3 PBUs. He had 3 tackles, including a tackle for loss, where he kind of closed real quick on a bubble on a quick hitter. Made a low tackle there. There's another time down on the red zone. I wasn't sure that he was where he necessarily needed to be on a run. Run fits are still going to be, that's going to be the question mark there. But there is no question, whether an up and press or an off, feel, instincts, fluidity, find and play the ball. Man, he can do all that stuff really, really well.
Yeah, no, I like that, and I like the way he plays. I think the talent was never in question. I think the toughness and the tackling technique were the things that you worry about, and I think you'll continue to have worries about that. At his size, the way the game is played on the perimeter, you can't hide guys, and he can be a great cover corner, but he's going to have to be able to tackle one-on-one in space. And it's not just what we're talking about tackling running backs; it's the size of the receivers. We've seen these 220-pound receivers that run through arm tackles. Can you count on him to be able to get those guys down when they run the bubble screens and tunnel screens and fly sweeps and all of that stuff at him? Can you count on him? That is the number one thing that's going to be that's going to determine whether he is a high-end player that we talk about in the Denzel Ward category, or if he's one of those guys that, hey, man, we talk about how talented he is, but he doesn't bring it enough that you can rely on him to be a Pro Bowler each week.
And also in that game, he was nicked up, but it sounds like not a serious injury. So that's good news. I think he played 43 snaps, which is a lot of work there in the first preseason game with John Harbaugh and the Ravens. So that's a look there at those defensive guys. Again, a couple of them we didn't see, including Jared Verse, who I'm excited to see. Maybe they keep him in bubble wrap till we get to the regular season. He's been great training camp by all accounts. All the videos you've seen from practice, he's looked great. So excited to see him. Maybe it's not till the real game start. Who knows? But that's what we saw from the rookies this first week on the defensive side of the ball. I want to get to the offensive lineman, Buck, but let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll knock those out. All right, Buck, let's start first of all, Joe Alt. That was the decision Jim Harbaugh, Joe Ortiz had to make there. Top of the draft, where do they want to go? Do they want to go with the receiver? Do they want to go with the tackle? They decided to go with the tackle, and Joe Alt, he's a left at Notre Dame who's moved over to right with Rashawn Slater already in place there with the Chargers. First of all, he looked huge on video as well as when you see him in person. He looks the part, moved well. It was interesting watching it live. Chinna Nwosu, former Charger Seahawk edge rusher, got into his pads, got into his chest, kind of walked him back to Easton Stick, and it kind of affected the throw for an incompletion. And you're seeing it live, and you're like, man, okay, that was the only negative rep I can remember. He played a lot, and that was the only one that stood out as a negative rep. But then I go back and watch the tape, Buck. He actually re-anchored him. I thought Easton Stick didn't really feel it. I thought Easton Stick could have kind of just taken a step back and kind of got a little bit of distance with some pocket awareness there. So even his one bad rep, quote unquote, it wasn't bad. He actually re-anchored him and was able to stun him and then actually dumped him at the end of the play. So he was good on combos in the run game. He looked quick. He can bend for somebody that's that big. He's going to be really, really good on the right side.
Yeah, he is going to be good. And, it's funny. Everyone is kind of given, I said they gave the Chargers a hard time about whether they take the playmaker or the offensive tackle. Jim Harbaugh early talked about like offensive skill players being offensive linemen and how they impact the entire team. And for Joe Alt, like I just think about him and Rashawn Slater just being solid bookends for the next decade. Like just being able to comfortably say, hey, man, we got 2 elite caliber offensive tackles around the quarterback, and then just filling in the pieces on the interior, which I think is much easier to do. Going from left to right, you wonder how long it would take him to be able to adapt and adjust. But I mean, the dude is solid, man. The dude played a lot of snaps and really held his own. I think you have to be pleased at that debut performance.
Yeah, it's just, to me, again, it's a pretty simple test. Do you look like you belong? Can you move? Can you bend? All those things, they were there. You saw that on display there from Joe Alt. So I'm excited about him. Let's J.C. Latham with the Tennessee Titans playing on the left side. Look, he can, again, quick. You saw in the run game the ability to leverage and just people move. I thought got caught on one rush in pass pro where it just can get a little bit flat-footed. It's all in there. It was just kind of a brief exposure there, but body type wise looked great. He's on the left side there. Again, I think he's going to be ahead. He's going to be more advances in the run game than he is in the pass game. I just have to learn and grow. But man, he's incredibly talented, Buck, and he's just a massive, massive human being that can move.
Yeah, I mean, you just think about size, like size, strength, power, just being able to dominate people at the point of attack. I mean, we could talk about a bunch of different things, and it's not always pretty when you have guys that are just kind of built like that. But being able to get it done, and you want to add physicality and toughness to the mix, it just changes the dynamic. But he's a really good player, and I would say this: like all those guys were kind of graded together. We talk about cluster busters and this and that. I can't say that I had him at the top of the chain, but I can see why there's some fascination about him.
All right, this next one, it brings up an interesting scouting point here. Olu Fashanu with the Jets. I thought he looked awesome, like outstanding the way he moved in run game, pass game, quick bend, agility, all that stuff. And the interesting thing I was thinking of, I'm like, man, he just looks so different. Like the way he's moving looks so different. And, I was reminded a lot of these colleges, and I know he'd had an injury as well, but a lot of these colleges brace up their linemen. When you take those knee braces off, like you just move better. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what it is. You look clunky with those knee braces on, but I understand why they're doing it. They're protecting their guys. And some programs do it on all their offensive line. They double brace them. I know he'd had a knee, so maybe that's what it was, but something about him being streamlined out there, Buck. I just thought, man, he just looks so much more athletic than he did the last I saw him at Penn State. But he looked like a 10-year starting left tackle in the NFL. It's a brief exposure. I get it. But some guys, you can just tell how they move and all that. And I was like, okay, he's going to be really good.
Yeah, no, just really good player, moves around well. The talent is there. And then it's just a matter of putting it all together. And we, like in the scouting world, we're always trying to make the debate between our production and projection. And sometimes when you see people with the prototypical things, you're just like, hey, man, there has to be some development that's done. We got to put onus on the coaches to develop them. And when you talk about taking the clunky braces off and watching them move around and those things, DJ, I'm telling you, man, the best advice that I ever got from an O-line guy when it came to scouting guys, he was like, look at guys that are always off the ground, that are nimble enough to do whatever. He said the other stuff can be taught, but if they're constantly off the ground, they can bounce around like cats. That gives you a chance to be able to develop them. And he exhibits some of those qualities.
Yep. Yeah, I think the Jets have to feel good about that, about their left tackle of the future. We'll see how it goes with the two vets they have, if they can keep those guys healthy. But he's going to force his way onto the field one way or the other. Saints, Talisi Fuaga, one of my favorites in the draft, Buck, but he's playing left tackle. Just he's ahead in the run game than he is in the pass game. Some of the one concern that I had about him was just, he can get a little over aggressive and duck his head. That showed up in pass pro. I'm going back through my notes here. Played on the right side, obviously, there at Oregon State. He's playing the left side there, so that's a switch. He's got quick feet. He can sink and anchor. He just had some real nasty. You saw that in the run game, and just some balance stuff there. Just got a little overextended a couple times, but I think he needs to relax. That was his first time out there. Play a little bit more under control, but again, in the run game, he can move people. That's for sure. But I thought he's got work to do. He's still got work to do there at left tackle.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a hard transition, but yeah, there's plenty of work to do, and it's early. It's one preseason game, so you try not to overreact to it, but you make notes on it. And what you want to do is you want to track it over the next 2 games, and you want to track it over the first half of the season. DJ, we've seen guys that have gotten off to slow starts their rookie season, week 6, week 7, and then the light clicks. And so that might be the situation with him. The talent is there. It's about the consistency. And can he learn how to play at a high level down after down after down? I mean, that's the difference. That's what separates good from great in this league.
I feel like we have a lot of these guys that are flopping sides from where they were, and not just from left to right, but also from right to left. Fuaga went from right to left. I mean, it's so
which is
Joe Alt went left to right,
which is a hard transition. I think from right to left is an even more difficult. But even though in the league now, people are putting their pass rushers on both sides. Like you can't hide a guy. There's no longer
just the footwork and just everything's backwards. You know, as they used to say, it'd be like wiping with your other hand.
I was going to say that. That's the same analogy I was about to use. Tristan Wirfs talking about wiping your booty with your opposite hand. It's different. And I don't know, like DJ, like when I'm scouting, I know it does have to change the way that you view it, because remember for so long we used to view left tackles just as left tackles. We rarely made a projection from right to left. If it was, it would be like, hey, he's a left tackle in college, we can go to right, but it never was in reverse.
Yeah, the other way.
That's a different transition, because that position used to be a mauler, brawler, road grader type position. But now, because of the way people are deploying their pass rushers on both sides, the guy has to be nimble enough to be able to hold up in pass pro.
Yeah, and speaking of guys who flip sides, Troy Fautanu, who was at left at Washington, he is playing right tackle for the Steelers, and I thought it was an uneven performance for him. Some of the same stuff that I just said about Fuaga. Fautanu just got a little over his skis a little bit. I thought he got into his chest a little bit at times as well. I think he was thinking, just watching the tape, it felt like he was thinking too much. He's a real natural athlete. He can bend. That was something you really saw there at Washington, and kind of re-anchor, do all those things. Even like on some of the pulls, getting him out in space, I didn't think he just was cutting it loose like he did at Washington. I thought he was just kind of a little measured, looked like he wasn't totally comfortable. I will say this, he got better from the beginning of the game, some struggles. I thought he got better throughout the game the more that he played. So I'm not sounding any alarms here as somebody who I really, really liked in the draft process, but I thought of all these guys, I thought he looked like he was a little more measured and trying to just get comfortable and feel things out a little bit.
You know, that's the one thing that you can't predict. You can't predict how schematics are going to slow someone down in terms of learning and understanding. And because we're not privy to everyone's system, we don't know all of the tags and little subtle adjustments and those things that they're having to kind of sort out in their mind in between plays or at the snap when things are moving and shifting immediately. So hopefully in time he'll settle in as he begins to get a better understanding of the assignment, the playbook, and those things. At the end of the day, man, you want your guys to play fast. You want to be physical. You want to play free from clutter. So hopefully he can find a way to get that, to reach that happy ground.
Yep. Let's get to a couple more here. A couple more tackles. I'll rip through these guys quick because I know we're getting short on time today. But Tyler Guyton was outstanding for the Cowboys. He is incredibly long. He is easy mover. For someone who hadn't played a ton, Buck, I came away from that tape feeling like they got their tackle, their left tackle for the future. Put him out there and let him run. He's going to be fine. He was excellent. And then I'll get to Mims real quick. Kind of a stalemate day for Mims. So his feet get a little static, but he's massive and a lot of draws, which offensive lineman draws or wins, right? You're not giving up stuff, draws or wins. But I thought he could just be a little more active with his feet, especially in the run game. Yeah,
just a huge, big body. I mean, you're just talking about a mountain of a man. And you're right, DJ. Like stalemates are okay. Like if it's soccer and we can get him to penalty kicks in the shootout, like that's a good job. And so he's able to kind of do that, stave him off, and not necessarily dominate him, but he didn't lose. And if you're able to get that effort on the perimeter, it gives you a chance. And so Mims off to a solid start.
Last one, Graham Barton for the Bucks. Maybe I saved the best for last.
Nice and light.
He was awesome. You talk about someone at center who can reach, someone who can climb up to the second level, someone who understands angles, someone who's got snap in his hands and in his hips, finish. Man, it's one exposure. But if you're going to say offensive or defensive lineman, rookie of the week, week one, I'll go Byron Murphy with what I saw from him. And if you're going to ask me offensive lineman, the most impressive was Graham Barton.
So you talk about a guy who had played multiple positions at the line of during his time at Duke, and just how we talked to him, his intelligence and his instincts and awareness. We knew that would be off the charts, but the athleticism, the movement skills that he displayed, just how easy it is for him to move around and do those things. He's as advertised. You the Bucks, you're excited about what he brings and how he upgrades your offensive line. An offensive line that is already featuring Tristan Wirfs, like a dominant high-end player.
They're going to be good, man. Up front, they're going to be really good. Those are two studs. I'm all in. Sign me up for Graham Barton. I'm in on that one. He was excellent. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for today. A look at some of these rookies and how they played in week 1. We've got one more episode coming your way this week, so be on the lookout for that. And we'll see you next time right here on Move the Sticks.